Chapter 2, The TJ League. You're frozen! Dang! The only way people can catch me when we're playing freeze tag is to team up on me. Usually there's one person chasing me from behind and there's one person coming straight at me. This time wasn't like the usual. I got TJ! Everyone else should be easy, Marcus shouted. Seeing as how we were the two fastest kids in school, we were never allowed to be on the same team for freeze tag or capture the flag. And we were usually paired up for steal the bacon. I couldn't believe I had fallen for it. I was the one who came up with that strategy. Outside of school, Marcus and I were always on teams, no matter what the game. It was a game of freeze tag we were playing with the kids on our block this past weekend. Marcus and I decided to team up and catch some of the middle school kids who were bigger and a little faster than we were. Being the faster one, I would usually be the chaser, while Marcus would hide behind a car, looking at the feet approaching from underneath. And when the time was right, he would lunge from behind the car and freeze whoever I was chasing. There were so many trees, bushes, and cars on our block that no one ever knew what Marcus or I was hiding behind. It was the perfect strategy. Come on, guys, unfreeze me, I begged. I couldn't stand having to stay still. I loved running away or chasing people in freeze tag. I don't know how, but only Brett was left. He was one of the slowest kids in our grade. I guess the other team decided to go after the faster people first, so the easy people would be left. Probably a strategy Marcus thought of. You see, the last two people tagged were usually the ones to be it for the next game. Okay, guys, and Brett huffed between words. I give up. Great. See if I ever pick him for my team again. Marcus and Michael started cheering. I think that was the quickest game of freeze tag I'd ever played. A supervision aide blew her whistle and ordered everyone to freeze. Oh man, I exclaimed. Recess can't be over already. See you at lunchtime, TJ. I'll save you a spot, Marcus yelled as he raced to be the line leader for his class. His class always ate lunch before my class. Our lunch schedule was organized by class, alphabetically. I thought that was totally unfair, since my teacher's last name is Whiston. By the time our class got inside the cafeteria, all the good pizza, tater tots, and chocolate milk were usually gone. Sometimes Marcus would save me some of his food when he wasn't that hungry. I decided to walk to my line. I was in no mood to be first in line or hurry to start learning again. We were learning about the Civil War. I didn't get it. I mean, why would father fight against son? Brother fight brother. It just didn't make sense. By the time I got to where my class would normally line up, my teacher was already leading it back to our classroom. That meant it was only another 3 hours and 45 minutes until lunch and another 3 hours and 27 minutes until school was out. Thursdays were early day except during June. I never understood why, but I didn't complain. So, what did you think of the assignment Mrs. Whiston assigned us? Justin asked as we reached the end of our wing and turned the corner. Just a few moments before the bell rang, Mrs. Whiston had asked us to write about our favorite television show. She wanted us to tell her the name of the show, about at least 3 characters from the show, about one of our favorite episodes, and why the show was our favorite. Everyone in class had been whispering since Mrs. Whiston had finished her first sentence. We couldn't believe that she wasn't making us do a research paper. We had been doing research paper for the last 3 weekends. First, it was about our favorite African animal. Then it was about the history of our favorite ethnic food. You know, where did it start and stuff. Then, last weekend, we had to research the history of our family tree going back at least 3 generations on both sides of our family. I mean, do you have any idea how many kids Mexicans like to have? I want it to be 1 page long, back and front, she had instructed. This last directive had brought groans and whining from most of the class. Luckily, the bell signaling the end of school rang before she could add any more instructions. And I want this paper on my desk first thing Monday morning, she called out as everyone hurried out of the classroom. I don't know about you, but my favorite television show, ever since I was in kindergarten, probably even before that, happens to be Batman. And though most of my friends were into other, more kiddie shows back then, I liked Batman. Always have, probably always will. He didn't get as much talk time during recess as some of the other television shows did, But he and I had a few things in common. He liked helping people. I like helping people. He was like a detective. I like figuring out how things work. His biggest secret was that he was Batman. My biggest secret is that I'm well, I'm still working on that one. Ever since kindergarten, I've even dressed up as Batman for Halloween. It was kind of weird, but also kind of cool. Even though all my other friends had store-bought costumes, they all liked mine the best. My Nana had sewn it for me. She made it so well that it looked exactly like the one on television. She even made sure it had a utility belt and cape. It was kind of weird. Even though I was the smallest kid in the class, and even though people couldn't always understand what I was saying, since I couldn't talk right yet, I almost immediately became the most popular kid in class. Everyone wanted to be my friend. That is, of course, until the new season of Pokemon came out. When Jasmine came to school with a pack of the newest Pokemon cards, most of the kids in my class, and the class next door, wanted to be her friend. Everyone except for Paul, Eric, and Justin. We stayed best friends. Paul liked the Flash, Eric liked Superman, and Justin liked Spider-Man. In 4th grade, Sammy, a new student in our class, brought a new comic book to school. She was always bringing comic books to school. Her dad worked at a comic book store. As long as Sammy got 100% on her spelling test, her dad would buy her a new comic book, which wasn't exactly hard for her. You see, Sammy skipped the 3rd grade because it was too easy. Sammy usually knew how to spell most of the words on our spelling list before we even got them. That meant one new comic book every week. Back to the new comic book. "Hey guys, come here," I remember Sammy saying excitedly before school. "What is it?" Paul asked, looking at the paper bag in Sammy's hands. "You guys are never going to believe this," Sammy said, still excited about something that none of us guys knew about. "Just get on with it already and show us," Eric said impatiently. Just then, Justin came from behind Sammy and snatched the bag from her hand. "Hey, give it back," Sammy said. But it was too late. Justin had already removed the item from the bag. "It's just another comic book," I said. "Come on, Justin, give it back," Sammy pleaded as Justin held it high above her head. Justin was the tallest out of all of us, but Sammy was the toughest. She stomped on his foot, forcing him to shrink in pain, bringing the comic book back within arm's reach. She snatched it back with a "you should know better than to mess with me" look on her face, which almost immediately turned back into the "guys, look what I've got" look she had on her face when she first called us. "This isn't just any comic book, TJ," she corrected me. "This is a very special comic book." She turned it around so we could see the cover. It was a comic book she had never brought to school before. The cover had 7 superheroes on it, including Batman, The Flash, Superman, and Wonder Woman, Sammy shouted. "She's my favorite. It's called the Justice League." "Hey, we should call ourselves the Justice League. It has all our favorite superheroes," Paul pointed out. "Exactly," Sammy agreed. "Except Spider-Man," Justin noticed. "Oh yeah," Eric said. "Well, that's okay," Sammy said. "We'll just be a different kind of Justice League." "Hey, guys," I shouted, having gotten a great idea. "What if we don't call ourselves the Justice League, but we still use the first letter of every word?" "Huh? I don't get it." "What?" "Just listen," I started. "The first letter of every word in the Justice League is T, J, and L." "Yeah, so?" Paul said, still sounding confused. "So, instead of calling ourselves the Justice League, we could call ourselves the TJ League. That way, anyone could join," I said enthusiastically. "But wouldn't that need an extra T?" Sammy said, trying to poke a hole in my idea. "Who cares?" I said. "Yeah, who cares?" Justin backed me up. "I like the idea that anyone can join, even if they're not in the real Justice League." "I don't know," Sammy continued. "I say we take a vote," I said before she could come up with another reason my idea wouldn't work. "All in favor of creating the TJ League, raise your hand." Justin and I raised our hands first, followed closely by Paul and Eric. Sammy didn't seem too enthusiastic, but she eventually raised her hand. Slowly. "It's official then. The TJ League is hereby officially in operation," I said with a huge grin on my face. As fourth grade went on, we would add more people to the TJ League, although our group always seemed to be shrinking. Sometimes it was because people moved away. Sometimes it was because people made new friends and wanted to play with them. And some people would quit because they wanted to be in charge. But everyone knew that I was in charge. I mean, come on, the league is even named after me. But the original five always stayed the same. That is, until fifth grade, when he came to our school.